זה לא מקשה אחת. יש את הסנאט, יש את הקונגרס, יש את הכוח היהודי שהוא עצום, יותר חזק משהיה אי פעם. יש דעת קהל, יש לנו כוחות כבירים בדעת הקהל שמתנגדים למדיניות הזאת.
Apparently, Israel is America's greatest ally. Yet many claim it's just another proxy for US interests in the Middle East. In this video, I'm going to explain how this is not the case, and it is the United States that is the proxy of Israel. A proxy in this sense is a client regime or puppet state where the government has been infiltrated or bought and takes orders from a foreign entity which directs policy regardless of the interests of the country in question, also allowing for plausible deniability of the entity pulling the strings.
I know nothing!
This claim is infuriating for a number of reasons. Firstly, it's not true, and thus very misleading. Secondly, it diverts culpability for all the atrocities away from Israel and suggests that the USA is the sole bearer of responsibility, and thus all blame should be directed at America. This is not to say that America is not guilty of these crimes, but it is not Americans pulling the trigger and dropping the bombs. This assumption can perhaps be forgiven because it is true that America has a history of using its political and military influence to co-opt governments of various countries around the world. The USA is the global hegemon and has enjoyed unrivaled power for decades, allowing Washington to bribe and blackmail almost any country it chooses. Therefore, how could another state actor possibly defeat, let alone control, the United States government, especially a country as small as Israel? The idea seems unrealistic, not to mention the fact that Israel is a tiny country, both in surface area and population. Its military may be formidable for its size, but it would still be no match for the USA. This begs the question, how could the State of Israel possibly have the USA under its control? The short answer is APAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. So what is APAC? Well, APAC is a lobbying organization that pays politicians to push legislation and policy in the United States on behalf of the State of Israel. It ensures Israeli interests are being served through the power of American global hegemony, and it has effectively commandeered the political apparatus of Washington, which it uses to control American military power and associated agencies.
You have also said that Congress is an Israeli-occupied territory. Now, what do you mean by that?
The most powerful lobby in Washington, which Congress can't stand up to, one of the most powerful, is certainly the pro-Israeli lobby. It has gotten its way in this town year in and year out. And I don't think the automatic votes of the Congress of the United States for $3 and $4 billion worth of aid to Israel are necessarily in the national interest of the United States. And that comment, which is to ridicule the subservience of the Congress of the United States, is perfectly valid.
Do you believe there are members of the Congress of the United States who are voting the interest of Israel over the interest of the United States?
No, I think they're voting the interest of a powerful lobby, which they can't stand up to.
Oh, but wait, don't other countries have lobby groups influencing the US government? Yes, but they are registered under FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act, and are not nearly as powerful as APAC, which although itself is a foreign entity, it was never registered as such.
What?
The last time someone tried to get APAC to register, they ended up. JFK was demanding that APAC register as a foreign agent, which would require them to disclose all of their funding and financial activity. In other words, they had to be transparent and honest about their intentions, which is completely antithetical to these people. So Israel and the dual citizen traitors in the White House made it clear they weren't going to tolerate any questioning of their plans, and no one ever asked them to register again. APAC then became unstoppable and only grew in strength, effectively taking control of both political parties with bribes and blackmail. Every American politician must show their support for Israel, lest they lose their funding and get labeled as an anti-Semite. It is politically impossible for the United States to not support Israel. That's the power of APAC. No other foreign country has this kind of influence over America. None whatsoever. And this is just one angle. Then there's the ever-present danger of being called an anti-Semite, a word that's become so radioactive it quite literally kills conversations and causes people to cower and beg their accusers for forgiveness. It's like kryptonite.
I think that your performance is despicable, and I think the fact that you are not willing to provide answers to this committee is absolutely atrocious.
Perhaps he does not know that I am the child of a Holocaust survivor. Perhaps he does not know that my mother lost almost all her family at the hands of the Nazis.
No other race or nationality has an equivalent word that can be used so frivolously to silence anyone questioning their actions, all reinforced by the Holocaust narrative and post-World War II fabricated history that's been drummed into us through Hollywood, video games, the education system, and the legacy media, creating collective consciousness infected with lies where every person has been turned into an NPC, unable to think for himself, and trained to dogpile anyone who dares deviate from the ever-narrowing opinion corridor, to the point where speaking the truth gets drowned out by the shrieking masses running cover for their rulers. Then there are the dual citizens in every key position in the American government, not to mention the ones we don't see. Their allegiance is with Israel, not the USA, whom they treat simply as a tool to further Zionist interests. Still don't believe me? Okay, let's look at the track record. The most obvious place to start is the USS Liberty in 1967. An event so egregious and blatantly treacherous, Israel and their supporters have tried to memory hole it ever since. The ship was supposed to be sunk, along with any witnesses, but despite multiple air and naval attacks over several hours, it somehow survived. This was a massive cover-up that went wrong, and perhaps a blessing in disguise, as it is undeniable proof that Israel is no ally of America. Had the ship gone down with no survivors, the truth about the incident would have been much harder to prove. Next, we have all the wars in the Middle East which America instigated and fought on behalf of Israel. By destabilizing and destroying Israel's neighbors that haven't been turned into client regimes or that went off script, it prevents any cohesion which could turn into a united front against the Zionist entity. Divide and conquer. Then we have 9/11, which is covered in their fingerprints and was the pretext to the war on terror. Also, we cannot discount or underestimate the Zionist lie that claims the Levant is the ancestral homeland of European Jews, effectively creating an entire voting bloc of Gentiles supporting the creation and maintenance of the State of Israel on the grounds of religion and justice following the Holocaust, which is used to browbeat those who would dare question or oppose Zionism. Israelis have stolen American technology and military secrets, selling them to the Chinese without consequence, and in return, they deny American requests for their own classified information, such as codes for their Iron Dome. Greatest ally? Give me a break. Israel controls the United States through a fifth column of dual citizens, LARPing as Americans, but upon closer observation, it is clear all their actions are for the benefit of Israel and to the detriment of the USA. America does not need eyes in the region from shared intelligence that Israel apparently provides on countries that they've been waging war on in the first place. They already control the all-important oil-rich Gulf states. In conclusion, the Zionists used the British as their host until, like all parasites, they killed it, before moving on to a new host. Israel is of no benefit to the US. In fact, it is a liability. It is a drain not only in fiscal terms, but socially and politically, especially today, as Israel continues with its righteous genocide. The US has been reduced to nothing but running damage control, as it attempts to shield the fledgling entity from criticism to missiles, allowing America's image to be destroyed beyond repair. It is becoming untenable. Yet Washington will support Israel no matter what. APAC makes it politically impossible for America to not support Israel. It is not purely geostrategic. Zionism is the expression of the messianic element of Judaism and part of the plan for a one-world government, centered in Greater Israel, where they will rule over the Gentiles who will be reduced to nothing but slaves.
אלוקים עשה אותם בשביל שיעשו פה...
בשביל לשרת את היהודים. כל הגויים שאתה רואה שיש בעולם, המיליארדים האלה, הם הכל רק בשביל שהיהודים יהיה להם איזה תועלת.
עכשיו,
אנחנו לא רואים את זה, אנחנו לא יודעים בדיוק.
כן, היות ואנחנו בגלות, אז אוטומטי עדיין הם עוד לא משרתים אותנו לגמרי, רק חלקית.
כל אחד יהיה לו, כשמשיח יבוא, אז כל אחד יהיה לו אלפים עבדים, 2,800 עבדים.
Now, show me another country that exercises this level of influence over the United States. I'll wait.
But I believe that Israel has a powerful stranglehold on the American government. They control both members of the House and the Senate. They have us involved in wars of which we have little or no interest. Our children are coming back in body bags. Our nation is bankrupt over these wars. And if you open your mouth, you get targeted. And if they don't beat you at the poll, they'll put you in prison. They're controlling much of our foreign policy. They're influencing much of our domestic policy. Wolfowitz, as Undersecretary of Defense, manipulated President Bush #2 back into Iraq. They pushed definitely to try and get Bush before he left to move into Iran. We're conducting an expansionist policy of Israel, and everybody's afraid to say it. They control much of the media, they control much of the commerce of the country, and they control powerfully both bodies of the Congress. They own the Congress.
Thanks for watching. If you like this content, please consider subscribing. Please also share and leave a like. It's free and it helps the channel. Also, a big thank you to all of you who have very kindly donated. I very much appreciate your generosity, as this channel is demonetized. For one-off donations, it's easy. I accept PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee, or even crypto. Links are in the description. Until next time.